Welcome back, Earthlings. We just watched episode 3 of season 3 of The Wheel of Time, and we're back with our rapid reactions, instant thoughts, hot takes, what have you. Ian?
But before we get into that, like, comment, and subscribe down below. Now, the opening scene filled me with a lot of happiness. I liked seeing our three Forsaken together, Samael, Lanfear, and Robin talking. It definitely felt very politically nitpicky. The people were all, vying for power. It was exactly how I felt that all the book scenes with the Forsaken meeting went down.
Yep, and especially so when Moghedien appears from the shadows, revealing that she'd been listening the entire time, really living up to her name as the spider in the web in the shadows, and they're referencing and then flies being caught in Moghedien's web. So that was pretty cool, book accurate depiction of our Forsaken for sure.
Yeah. The weird thing is I found it interesting that Robin decided to include a couple of the other Forsaken in like what Lanfear was starting to put down for the rest of them, and Lanfear was like, "Wait, you told other people? Excuse me?"
Semiraj and Grendel, who we haven't seen on screen yet.
Yes.
Have we?
No, not at least not that I know of. I mean, we might have seen them in the background, but I don't know what their faces are.
Yeah.
So let's just assume we haven't seen them. But I thought that was an interesting little twist too, because most of the time the Forsaken don't include others who are not invited unless they already have an actual alliance. So Robin being a little more of a, let's say, how would you phrase this? A gossip is sort of an interesting turn.
I think he's stirring shit up for sure.
Yeah.
They all have their own designs to become nameless.
Yes.
And that never changes. They all keep vying for power, and their alliances shift, and Lanfear is always... And they're making Lanfear out to be a bit more of a gray sort of character. I mean, she's definitely evil. She's torturing Egwene while simultaneously manipulating Rand in the dream. Super evil stuff. But they're trying to make it almost like that she's got some good. I could come back to the light. Together we could defeat the Dark One, She starts to talk about Sakarnan, which is a different Angreal than I would have anticipated. She should be using the female, or she should be lusting after the female Choden Call. The Sakarnan Angreal is something that comes way, way later in the books, and it's a male Angreal as well. So a little confusing why they chose that instead of just two halves of the Choden Call, because it fits in perfectly with the two halves of the One Power and the whole themes of the story.
Yeah. So I'm also left questioning even if the female Choden Call exists. I mean, like, I don't see how it doesn't not exist, considering what those two Angreals are needed later on. But since they decided to replace the female one with the Sakaran, I'm kind of I don't know. I'm left wondering if there is that female's version of it in Riadon.
And then you have to wonder further, why would they change that? These are not characters. These are just objects that are used for a lot of... I mean, the biggest thing the Choden Call get used for is to cleanse the male half of the true source. Super fucking important. Rand and Nynaeve need both of those together. And Nynaeve the female one ends up being destroyed. And then the male one is the only one that survives. Now they may be just going into that and making sure there's only a couple of the Angreal, no overpowered magical items. Who knows? That is one big change, not big change, one subtle change that they're bringing in really early.
Absolutely, yeah, very early.
And of course, that leads me to another big change that's also like, it's a change or a transposition possibly. Nynaeve and Elaine, quote unquote, interrogating the two dark friends, Emiko and Joya, who have been stilled by Swan. I'm not sure if she stilled them during the fight or if they were tried and stilled afterwards. Either way, they're being held and questioned.
Yeah, probably tried and stilled afterwards. But that questioning scene was 100% lackluster. There was no sense of danger from the Wonder Girls interrogating the Black Sisters, being like, because Elaine even says, like, well, why don't we just, like she's not telling us, let's just kill her. And Nynaeve is just kind of standing there. There's no sense that we are going to put the fear of God into you.
Fear of the light back into you, you dark friend.
Yeah, it's like, we will go questioner hand style,
No, they're just vague threats. I mean, at the very least, they could have said, like, we haven't sworn the three oaths. Why do you think Swan sent us in here? Because we can do things that Aes Sedai can't. if they had gone that direction, or if they had wanted to do that and also be lore accurate to the book, they could have said they wanted to try it, and then they start questioning themselves because they are not physically or emotionally able to start using the power to manipulate and to torture somebody. So we could have seen some character development, some morality, like kind of issues, and we could have seen an actual real interrogation attempt to. Instead, we're supposed to believe because Amiko told us, again, we're not shown this, we're told it again. She tells Nynaeve, "Oh, I believe you when you tell me that you're going to kill me." It's the least believable scene in the story, in that episode. No part of it makes me feel that the Dark Friends are ever in danger. That why would they ever tell the truth? Well, it turns out they don't because they're Dark Friends and they lie. No shit. But it was just a really, really lackluster interrogation scene. Really not believable. No sense of danger. Two women who were younger than both of those women just sort of looming or trying to. Nah, doesn't do it for me.
And then also when the regular Aes Sedai are questioning them, apparently they question the Dark Sisters together. They don't split them up. Like no one in the writer pools apparently has ever watched NCIS or any cop show.
Well, they have, obviously, because they say Nynaeve and Elaine are like, "Oh, let's separate them," as if they're the only one. They're the geniuses.
That's what I'm getting to. Is the incompetence of the actual full sisters who are depending on which one you're talking about are either 20 years to a couple hundred years old. Are this incompetent at interrogation that they need to bring in two, as my brother said, wonder kids who have no ability to give a threatening demeanor that you would sense be like, oh my god, I have to tell you or else you're actually going to hurt me. Yeah, and there's only 2 scenes and they get and they figure it out relatively quick.
I mean, they put it together. They're both lying about where they're going. So, okay, shocker, the Dark Friends are lying. And then there's this weird combination of symbols that they track down to being like rebirth and, getting out of being spun back out into the pattern again more quickly by the wheel.
Yeah.
Which therefore leads them to it being a symbol from Tanshiko. And of course, Leander is from Tanshiko. So then they put it together that she's going to Tanshiko. So the questioning of the Dark Friends is irrelevant to their eventual decision to go to Tanshiko, mostly, it seems like. And then, speaking of Aes Sedai incompetence, we've got Varen and Lyanna being incredibly hostile towards Elida. As a outsider, if you haven't read the stories, looks very, very aggressive and suspicious and out of left field. The Red Aja together, when they're all in their quarters, which is set up in a way that I totally didn't envision. I didn't envision it looking sort of, for lack of a better word, brothely. Maybe I'm being too harsh.
No, you're not.
And then the way they're talking with each other too, like the Red Sisters are super ununified, and the woman who is highest seems very, very arrogant, but arrogant in a way that shows that you're too young for the job, so you're projecting more than you need to. Maybe that's a smart character thing they're doing. I'm not sure, but the Aes Sedai, I know there's cracks in the White Tower. They're really making them like chasms, and everyone's sort of already at each other's throats. Leon and Varen just openly hostile towards Elida right off the bat.
Yeah. And how does Leon know which one is highest in the Red Aja? Because that type of stuff is extremely secret. Because later on in the books, when I forget whichever green sister, or the green highest is talking to Egwene, be like, oh yeah, by the way, hint, hint, this is who I am. Egwene's like, oh, holy shit, she actually told me. I can't believe it.
Yeah, and she said, yeah, you would have known this if you had been raised from us. Still backhanding it.
But, still backhanding it, but it's that precious of a secret. So for Lyanna just to know and flat out say that she knows too is, you would never give that information away. You would always be having that in secret unless you needed a really desperate like a desperate situation that information had to then be uncovered. That's the only way you do it. And having them send 8 sisters out to hunt Mazrim Taim is not a good enough reason to be like, yeah, I know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Elida, it's really weird because she is such a sympathetic character. I was like, if I take
she's starting out totally like you actually do sympathize with her a little bit. She walks back in.
Yeah, the only thing I have, if I don't know everything I know about her character and I'm just watching the TV show, the only problem I have with her, and you can chalk this up to just her being a Red, is what she says to about Rand. Like, we need to find and cage the Dragon Reborn.
Cage, yeah. These people are not smart when they think about this kind of stuff. I never understood why you could be so bullheaded about this. I understand you've had 3,000 years of misinterpreting prophecy. I get it. And I also understand that you're a Red Sister, which means that you're preloaded with a ton of false perceptions and conceptions about the breaking, about men, about the One Power, pretty much about everything. You've been manipulated by Ishamael and Co. for 3,000 years, and you aren't coming out smelling like a rose right now.
No.
So the whole concept of, yes, we have this prophecy for the strongest channeler ever, and this is from the show. They never actually say that the Dragon Reborn has to be the strongest channeler ever in the books. He just happens to be really fucking strong. Here, it's apparent he's the strongest channeler ever born. So we are going to take this strong channeler, who is destined to fight and defeat the Dark One, hopefully, is going to be the strongest Tavern, which means the most influence over people's lives and the pattern that out of anybody who's ever been born. And we're going to try to cage him and hope this works out for the best. I mean, we know it doesn't work out because that shit actually happens later on in the story. It's so bullheaded. It's so myopic. It's so short-sighted. It's so... And that's what's great about Robert Jordan's writing, because you get to see this. You get to experience the frustrations while it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also great because that whole idea of what they have to do to the dragon is 100% antithetical to the Aes Sedai's favorite catchphrase. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills. Not as you weave or as you will. No, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Yep.
Yeah, like the straight arrogance never doesn't astound me every time I'm like rereading it or just watching it right now unfold in this Mirrors of the Universe take. Mirrors of the Universe. Mirrors of the Wheel. Everyone, sorry.
Same difference. I guess moving on to Perrin and the Two Rivers. Once again, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Except for he has a Tavern moment, which is kind of cool. I was sort of worried about the actor being able to pull this off, I'll be honest. He seemed to be leaning too much into the slow, considered, confused-looking Perrin too much.
Yeah.
This time here, he actually was able to appear like he was a leader. You know, he got him to,
without breaking character too.
Yeah, like he started off hesitantly.
And started out hesitantly and then grows in confidence as he's just like, wait, you're going back to your farms? No. The Trollocs will pick you off. And the farmer's like, yeah, but like we've always been there. We got the boys up in the...
An oak fell in my field.
Yeah, oak fell. Yeah, like I want to turn that into a next barn door. I got the boys up, up on the roof. We'll have plenty of time. Like, oh, really? Against 1, 2 Trollocs? What about everyone? How much time will you have? And then slowly people start coming around him and shit like that. And then you just have Fale in the background just watching him with those. She has those. She has the eyes, like the kind of hawkish.
And they're large, but they're ever so tilted, just like. And she's probably one of the best casting choices from a purely. Like what I pictured her from the books to being,
Yeah.
She looks very much like I imagined her to look, which is really cool.
Minus the short hair.
Yeah, the short hair. Yeah, exactly. She actually kind of looks like what I thought Min might look like, aside from the tilted eyes and the more prominent nose and all that. But anyway, appearances aside, I think she's going to be a good fight eel so far. We haven't seen a ton of stuff from her, so she's a very shallow character still. It's only been a couple of scenes with Perrin, but they're obviously trying to get the chemistry between them going.
And it I feel that it's working so far.
Mm-hmm.
The small, subtle hints between them, the cute little smiles, little looks at the side eye glance.
And just please, if she gets kidnapped, make it quick.
Oh God, no, yeah, no. See, this show has wasted a lot of time on a lot of bullshit. But if they waste a lot of time on that storyline, and it's going to happen, like I just can't imagine that it's
a decent thing to have happen because it forces him to develop as a leader.
Yeah,
it didn't need to take as long as it did in the books.
Yeah, but if they make it more than like 2 episodes in the show, it will be too much. Because you just can't keep that. I mean, especially when you have only 8 episodes and, theoretically 8 seasons for this entire show. You're already on season 3. If they waste a whole season on them being apart and Perrin being all mopey and bitchy, and I mean, he does pull off good leadership in that, and he also does some real dark shit
metal shit too, yeah.
But like, if they draw it out as much as Robert Jordan did in the book, it will be slightly painful.
Speaking of plot points that they're hitting. And they're hitting well, some of them. The fight. Matt, Galad, and Gawain.
That was epic. That was the first, that scene made me smile so much. It was exactly how it needed. I mean, like, besides not having, like, Hammer there and some other Wardors, it was just him, the 2 stupid princes, and Nynaeve watching. agape, being like, holy shit,
Where
what the
did
hell
this
is
come
Matt?
from? Yeah.
Because she starts all be like, no, Matt, we're not taking you to Tamtico. And then Galad, and Galad starts poking his nose in there, and Matt's like, oh, hell no.
Oh, and Galad, oh god, he's so annoying. They're doing such a good job at setting these two princes up to be arrogant douchebag pricks.
Yeah.
Especially Galad coming in and doing the white knighting thing twice to Matt. First with Min, and then second with Nynaeve being like, Matrim, get away from her. But then right before that, he's banging the shit out of some maid in the room next door. So it's great that they're showing that he's like pretending to be this upstanding prince person. They're arrogant and they're spoiled and they're bratty and they're douchey. It's fantastic. I love the way that they characterize them with such short amount of screen time, actually, too, which is something that they need to be better at. They showed us that they're douchebags. They didn't just fucking hammer it down our faces with a piece of exposition. They didn't have Elaine sitting there and recount a story about how Galad did something dumb when they were kids. No, this was a showing, don't telling. And then talking about showing, don't telling. Matt didn't have to tell us that he's a badass. The story runners didn't have to tell us that he's a badass. No, he fucking showed us. That was so fucking cathartic watching him. And it was one of those scenes that I know I wanted it. I know you wanted it. We were both saying if they fuck this up, if they don't represent it well, if Matt doesn't just take him down, I'll be pissed. They followed through. They came out big. It was fun. I want to rewatch that right now. I'm already hyped up about it again. It's dope. Matt fight scenes are going to be sick in the future. Let's see him beat Couladin.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. So great. Also, another plot point that they hit, but obviously changed, since we're talking about Matt, back in the Waste with Lan and what's her name?
Melindra.
Yeah, Melindra. Obviously, another weird thing that they decided to put in. She is from Malkiri, has the golden crane tattooed on her back. That's what draws Lan's interest.
Which took us a hot minute to figure out, because we were all like, okay, there's a tattoo on her back. We got to figure out what that is. So we pause it on the 4K and look it up, and it takes us 15 seconds to figure out that it's the golden crane. And then the show just tells us what it is a minute later, which was a little frustrating because I was all proud of myself for figuring it out.
And then because it's funny too, because like as soon as because when we were figuring out, we hadn't seen Moraine's reaction yet. So when Moraine gasped, I was like, okay, good, we got it right, because she knows exactly what it was. And then as my brother said, Lan walks in and it's just told. And you're kind of like, okay, whatever. That's going to be an interesting plot point. I mean, we know exactly. I'm pretty sure it's going to follow the plot in the book. She will sooner or later try to kill him.
Yep.
During a battle, and he'll kind of be. He actually shouldn't be too sad, because a
number of people, dark friends that he's killed. Yeah. Oh,
but he'll be sad though because
she's Malkiri.
Yeah, she's a kinswoman.
Yeah. So they are having Melindra, the dark friend, that they can infiltrate. And although they're in the book, the fact that dark friends can infiltrate the Aiel was a bigger revelation than it will be now, because she's not technically Aiel, but there will be Aiel dark friends. It's a fact of life in Randland.
Yeah.
There are dark friends at every society, every group, every social rung.
Yeah, there's no place that's clean.
Yeah, exactly. Especially not the places that claim to be the cleanest, like the White Tower and the seat of the White Cloaks in Amador. But we haven't gotten to the super dark people yet. Well, no, we did see Jaikeem Carradine, and he is a dark friend being turned into a gray man. So confused about what they're doing with that. I don't know why they'd even name the character if he's going to be something totally different. But that's not in this episode, and we're getting away from ourselves.
Was that, though, was it Jain who tries to kill Elaine and Avianda, Nynaeve in the tower? Was that her?
I doubt it. I think it's just a random dark gray man, because there's no reason to name the character and show the sequence of Moghedien turning him into a gray man and then just have him die instantly without ever referencing it. It just seems like it's a wasted moment of screen time.
But we were talking earlier about showing, not telling, and the show likes to show or tell us what people can do, and Lanfear says that Moghedien is the only person who knows how to make a gray man. So it could be honestly that reductionist.
It could be.
Which would be unfortunate.
And here's my overarching impression so far after 3 episodes in. They are trying to undo some of the mistakes that they made in season 1 specifically, and sometimes a little bit in season 2. They got off track from the books. This here, it feels like they're trying to use the framework they set up to get everyone back on track, but they're checking plot boxes. They had a list of things that every character had to do, and they just kind of jump from character to character and show these plot moments. So, okay, we've got the Forsaken meeting, having a powwow, Mogedi in the background. Boom, okay, plot point, check. They're conspiring. We've got division in the tower between Elida and the establishment. We have issues encroaching Swan's seat of power. Okay, excellent. Check. Now let's jump to Perrin. Tavern moment. Check. Jump to Rand. He's in the waste. Check.
Jump to Matt and Min.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah, all these things that seem like they're going down a list. Instead of spending time with the character for half an episode or whatever and letting the story develop, it's like they're jumping from plot point to plot point just to get through it. And it's an unfortunate reaction to the issues that they wrote themselves into through sometimes no fault of their own, sometimes just poor writing choices, I think. Either way, they're paying the price for it now. We are too, in that we're getting a summary more than we're getting a story that's unfolding in front of us. Now, that may be my perception because I know the story and I see the plot points that are being checked off. And far be it for me to criticize people for actually getting the plot points from the books. I want that. I want those moments. I just want them to feel less like a summary and more like I'm being told this story.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me...
Or shown the story.
Shown the story, yeah. And my biggest reaction to especially episode 3 was... the scenes jump, as my brother said, over and over again to different people all the time, and you basically are left with like 5 to 6 minutes of each person, and then it's like to the next person 5 to 6, then the next person 5 to 6, and next person 5 to 6. What they should have done is they should have shuffled the whole script around and being like, all right, this episode, half of it is what's going on with like Rand and in the waste, and then the other half is in the tower or in the two rivers. Give like 20 to 25 minutes of coherent storyline on one or two of your main characters in the same location, so the watcher can actually feel that the story is progressing in a fashion that makes sense, not just a bullet of cutscenes that jump all over the world, that you're like, all right, cool, this is all happening at the same time, but I have no real sense of what's happening because I'm being shown too much.
And we also have no sense of urgency or danger.
Yes,
so
no danger.
The overwhelming thing that Rand is concerned about when he's in the waste is time. I know that sounds kind of silly, but he feels that he's constantly behind the 8 ball. He's always playing catch up. He's always chasing after somebody who's doing something unexpected or doing something that shouldn't be done that he needs to counteract.
Or trying to do something before they do something.
Exactly. Do the unexpected thing or whatever. So oftentimes... he's trying to push. He's like, we gotta go. We gotta skip that step. We can't wait for all the clans to get to Al-Khair Dal. I don't have time for that. I gotta get there before Couladin because he's got some shit planned. Yeah. And there's some Forsaken brewing some shit tea up there too. I gotta counteract that. So he's always constantly driving. He's worried. And then while that's all happening, he's learning about his heritage, his culture. We haven't had a single moment of Rand and the IE all together doing stuff and talking. Like, it's all just... it's too quick cuts. We need some time, especially with Rand, guys. Look at the screen time that Rand has compared to all the other characters in general. He is the main character of this show. Please don't make it otherwise. It's very clear in the books that Rand is the fucking Dragon Reborn pretty much from the first book, in the first chapter even, because you start with the POV of him with his dad. You don't start with Elaine in the Wine Spring Inn. You don't start with Nynaeve treating someone's sickness. You don't start with Perrin in the Forge. No, you start with Rand and his dad. And then you have Rand and his dad get attacked. And then Rand goes to Emmons Fields. And then Rand and everyone leaves. It's all told from his perspective in the beginning. It's really clear that he's the main character. This is no high-level subverting expectations thing. Give us Rand. He is the one that actually has the most to do in the books. Please give us his story more. I don't really care as much about white-powered politics right now. There's plenty of time for that. You've shown us so much of it. How about some Aiel politics? Because there's a lot of it. There's an entire culture that we have to learn about. Because the Aiel never go away. Their culture is more important to the story than the Terrabanner culture, than the Karyanan culture, than the Andoran culture, any of it.
Yeah, no, yeah, the dragon, the dragons people. the people of the dragon, become the chief law enforcement officers of whatever the fourth age will be called, the Age of Peace, the Age of read new legends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then going back to Rand and the Wise Ones, like that tent scene where they're all in the sweat tents. You could have like dedicated the 5 seconds to the Malkiri woman and called it good, and then had them talk to Rand about his mom and dad. Like, that's a super pertinent part in the book where this is the first time he actually gets descriptions of his real parents and what they were.
And it's really important to Rand too.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, you want to know where you come from. At this point, he knows. Well, actually, the show hasn't said anything about Tam not being his dad.
Well, no, they showed Tam at his birth.
Well, no, but from Rand's thing.
Oh yeah,
like Rand's never been like, yeah, Tam's not my dad. I wonder who he is, but like, no, but Tam is my dad because he raised me, so I'm saying he's my dad. You never get any of that type of.
He has that internal monologue a lot, yeah, and I understand it's difficult to show what internal thoughts are going on in a person's head on screen. I know that's probably one of the biggest challenges to adapt the Wheel of Time, because so much of what we know is going on is told through people's expectations, reactions, and thoughts that are all private to them.
Yeah.
That we're reading, they're telling the story from their unreliable third-person narration, and we're supposed to sort of piece it all together and form the actual truth of it from all the different perspectives we hear. So I understand it's difficult to translate, but
you could have easily done it just between what, like him and Egwene. You could have just been like, in season 2. Oh, actually, no, they don't meet until the end. Well, at some point, or between anyone, he could have been like, I know Tam's not my dad, and I don't know who my parents are. Like, who am I? I'm the Dragon Reborn, but who am I? Who's Randall Thor?
Yep.
Like, it could have just, you don't need to do 10,000 lines of dialogue, just a simple little, like, 1 minute scene. The person he's asking doesn't even need to give an answer. It could just be a sympathetic look. And to the viewer, you're just like, yup, that's a human moment.
They could even have done it with those scenes with Lanfear, honestly, because there's a lot of dream sequences where they're chatting, and Lanfear is overtly, obviously trying to manipulate him into doing stuff. If he doesn't catch it, then holy tits. I understand that once again we are top-down perspective. We see a lot more than the characters do. We have what's called dramatic irony perspective. We understand what's happening. They don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have taken one of those scenes where they're talking, and he could have, he has these self-doubt moments in that dream, but like, I'm terrified of not knowing who I am. All these things are happening, and people are telling me that I'm this, and I'm destined to save the world, but I'm just a shepherd, and I don't even know who my father is.
Yeah.
That
right there.
You could have done that. You already had weird scenes of them screwing around in the dream, etc. But we're running out of time here. Any final thoughts on this third episode? Or on the first 3, I guess.
Well, actually, on the first 3.
Since we have seen all 3 now.
As a whole, I am quite pleased with the faster pacing and a lot of the member berries that are getting called out from the story. Basically,
dialogue.
The dialogue that is almost verbatim from the books. I like that a lot. I mean, we've talked about all like the negative parts, so there's no need to go into that. I'm still hopeful as the season goes forward. Of course, everyone, remind yourself that this is just another turning in Mirrors of the Wheel. So this is not in the actual story. This is just a weaker version of something that could have happened in the Portal Stones as the best way to look at this show. So you can divorce it from the actual story so you can enjoy it. Because, I mean, as you just heard, we just basically talked about almost 30 minutes of a lot of the shit that they're kind of fucking up. But they're also like all the shit that they are kind of getting right. And there are some other writing constraints that I could talk about that they need to fix, but that doesn't need to happen right now. But overall, though, the progression, I am more than 50% pleased.
Yeah,
which is a good metric for me.
I'm much happier with this season than I was about season 1.
Oh god, yeah.
And I am marginally happier about this than I was season 2. I thought season 2 was good TV, was bad fantasy and bad Wheel of Time adaptation for the most part.
Yeah.
No, bad. Sorry, bad is too strong of a word. I thought it was lacking. It could have been better. There were multiple points where I was frustrated. Season 3, those frustrations may still be there. I may have some issues with the way things are written, or sometimes exporting dialogue from the book directly to the show can come off as stilted or like a stage performance, a theater performance, as opposed to a natural conversation. These are small issues. Overall, I like the trajectory of the season. It is establishing a lot these first 3 episodes. I get that. But everyone's in their places now. Let's get the plot moving. Let's get some stuff going. And have some events take place rather than just people and places. Yeah. And then I think that'll be a great goal to go for the next 5 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, if they can stick with what we're kind of saying and get the boat rocking and these 5 episodes be really epic in the proper way, not like let's just, kill all the people who are swearing to us in a swearing ceremony at the very beginning with Morghese. Not that type of epic, but like Trolloc epic and Rand doing some good shit.
Rand needs a moment,
and
guys.
The columns. I mean, like those column scenes, like that. That's gonna be like the make or break the show. If they get that right, perfect. If they get that wrong, oh, it'll devastate me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, I hope everyone enjoyed our commentary of episode 3. We will be doing this for every episode going forward, so come back and tell us what you think.
Next Thursday will be the next episode, and please comment down below, get involved in the discussion, tell us how we're wrong or how we're right, or just tell us that our voices are pretty.
Yeah, that, and like the comment, boost us in the algorithm, like and give us a subscribe. We will see you guys next time.
Later, dudes.